Alright, welcome to Align Trading, going over today's SPY recap and live analysis before taking a look at what to be watching into tomorrow. So first thing that I explained in the pre-market brief for Discord members was to be watching with the gap up today that we did close this gap right here. So what you have to be paying attention to is, can we form support right here, grabbing this left shoulder of liquidity and continuing to close this cup right here, which you can see we end up doing later in the day. But initially we have this move down right here from the gap, selling in the morning. We even get below this 5-day moving average, and we'll talk about the intraday structure that was formed off of that and why this move occurred. But you can see right here that we did not form this shoulder to continue moving down to that 20. And then at that 20, right, we would have wanted to have seen that turned into resistance, and then a move below that 584 low, which we could not even retest right here. Came just short of it, right, as we talked about yesterday. So it's the same sort of situation. And then off of that, we end up forming this inverse head and shoulder off of that 5-day moving average and begin to get this move up right here within this purple buying continuation, right? And then you see this controlled selling within blue and yellow right there for this move above that level where the gap was. And then here at the end of the day, ran out of time, but we're looking to see if we can test this level right here. And then if we can head up from there, right, eventually closing the cup back at these highs. Now here on the 1-minute chart, going over the microstructure and algorithms, you can see here in the morning to start the day right at that level 593, we look to see if we can form some sort of controlled selling. We do not, and we see this selling pressure increasing, right? So from there we begin to see us heading down within this yellow all the way to that 5-day moving average that I talked about, right? And at that 5-day, I explained we want to be seeing if we can start to head up from here, and then ultimately would want to close the cup back to this high of day and then form that support at that 593. Otherwise, we would be looking for this head and shoulder to be trying to form at that 5-day moving average. And you can see how we form that right here with that inverse cup and handle and head and shoulder for a small move down. Now we close this inverse cup at low of day. We do not form this handle right there to get that continuation, and there is another bounce with this inverse head and shoulder off of that 5-day moving average once again. So if you understood that this 5-day moving average was here, you would have been able to trade off of it accordingly. So with this bounce right here, we are wanting to see that cup and handle breaking out, and you see that we do not form that right here. Once again, this acts as resistance at this level right there, and we form this head and shoulder below that 5-day moving average for once again another move below it. But you can see how we start to taper right here with this blue, and you can see the yellow, right, once again building this liquidity for that 5-day moving average when we do not see that continuation off of this handle right there, breaking out of this white algorithm. So we would want to see this 5-day right remaining as resistance right there and seeing the continuation below to this 20-day that was down here, and that did not form, right? So that is why we get this move back up and then ultimately breaking above this level. From here, right, as I'm explaining, we want to be seeing this cup close back to the high of day right here and to be watching for this handle trying to build. And you see how we start building that handle right here. Initially, sure, a short does form, and I explained that you can be looking for this right here. So if you were scalping that, right, there's that inverse cup and handle. We close the inverse cup right here, but when it comes time for that handle, you see another inverse cup, but we lack that continuation back below this level that was previously that resistance, and the selling is controlled as I explained with this blue right here. And you can also see that there is this other tapering algorithm right there as well, which starts to give us this move out of this, and you see the blue and yellow controlled selling on the way up there with this same algorithm. So if you were paying attention to that, plenty of scalps right there. Now, as I was talking about here as well on the 30-minute chart, I explained that you would be wanting to see us breaking above this level right there. And if that were to form, right, you would see that continuation grabbing this left shoulder of liquidity, and you see how that forms right there. And there is no move back to the downside. So if that did form as resistance, right, we would be wanting to see that. And ultimately, like I explained, back below the 5 day before I'm looking for a short, as we are within that purple buying continuation, and there is no reason to be shorting this. You can see this algo right here. We would know if there were to be a short, we would see this inverse cup close, grabbing that on the way down, but we are just in control with the blue controlled selling right here as we continue moving higher, and you see that slow grind up all day. And then even right here, when it looks like we may start to fall off, right, there might be some possible tapering right there. We try closing that inverse cup, but there is no handle for the downside, right? You got to see us grabbing this liquidity. And we once again, with that blue controlled selling, are forming this right here, trying to make it even higher up to those levels that I talked about at the beginning of the video. If we could reach, we would want to be seeing these retested. So aside from building this liquidity at the 5 day moving average here in the morning, you can see that it was a pretty straightforward day, right? As we talked about, you see how we are forming this right here once again, right on the way up, and then even right there. So this is that dominant algo. Now going over what to be watching into tomorrow. So you can see how we closed this cup right here, and now we may be building a handle within this blue and yellow. So pay attention, right? If this does start to build and we do try and head up, a couple levels that you'll want to pay attention to if there is, right, a rejection, but be watching for this cup to close, and then ultimately would want to see the handle for an all-time high breakout. Now we are above both moving averages right here. As you can see on the daily, we've been talking about whether or not we would form support off of this 20, regain the 5, and continue this uptrend. So far, we've regained the 20 and the 5. So be watching if we do grab that shoulder right and close this cup. However, we could still head down if we do form resistance at the 5 day, but that has to form first, and then this could be a very nice dump that is trying to form with that inverse cup and handle right there. You can see possibly, but if that does form, we are going to have to see this right here and then get below that 5 day. If we form resistance at the 5 day, can look to head down below that 20 as well, but that must form right. It still could within this green, but this is getting to the point where it's going to have to start forming resistance. Otherwise, right, we are going to be headed back up. So this is going to be one of the last chances for us to try and head down. There is a ton of liquidity right here if that does form, but you can see, right, how many times we've bounced off of this right here. And then today, right, we bounced off of this green algo. So got to see these breaking. Otherwise, right, it is this blue and yellow controlled selling trying to bring us up right here on the way. That will be all for the video today. So thank you everyone for watching, and I will see members in the morning.